Hi, my name is Kaz. I'm here to interview author Emily Blakeney with her debut novel, Blackwater. I have read the book. I gave it 5 stars, 4.5, 5 stars, something like that. I thought it was wonderful, and I am so honored to be able to be joined by her today at some point, to talk to her and get a little bit of background knowledge and some inside information about maybe book two, possibly, we're hoping. Also her writing process and what inspired her and lots of things like that. I'm very excited to do that. Hi. Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good.
Good to
Thanks
hear.
for having me.
Of course. I don't know how to start this off. I've already like kind of talked about what I'm going to be doing with just me here, and then I'll edit kind of the part where I wasn't doing anything out. This is my first time doing something like this, so I'm not quite sure how to get started, but I do have a list of questions, and they're all kind of categorized. Um,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to say something first or introduce yourself, or
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name is Emily Blakeney. I am the author of Blackwater, which is my self-published romantic dark fantasy, and it's about pirates and girls with bad attitudes and shadows that do bad stuff. Um, and I'm working on the sequel.
all right, thank you. So, some starter questions before we get into anything too deep. What is your favorite book?
Oh gosh, that answer will probably change depending on the day that you ask.
Real.
Recent, oh gosh, what is my favorite book? Recently, I let me answer it this way. The best book that I've read of late is The Everlasting by Alex Harrow. It was absolutely beautiful. So let's go with that.
Okay. I haven't read that one, but I have heard of it.
Oh,
Do you have
it's
any
wonderful.
honorable mentions for favorite books?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Read the whole Red Rising series by Pierce Brown
Oh, I
is
need to get on that.
yeah, yeah. I don't typically read a lot of sci-fi, but it's just I mean, it's just one of the best series I've ever read. It's so good. That for sure. Anything by Jay Kristoff, I love. Anything by Rachel Gillig, V.E. Schwab, um, all of them, I just like worship. So,
Yeah, I understand. I tend to stick strictly with fantasy, and I'm trying to branch
mhm.
out and go more into like horror. And recently, I've been doing sci-fi. One of like my main things right now is Dungeon Crawler Carl, and that was a big
Oh
step
yeah,
out of my comfort zone. But it's a big one for me. I'm reading book 4 right now.
it's so good. It's so good.
I agree. So, when did you decide that you wanted to write stories, or what's your inspo for that?
Yeah, I in 2019, I was graduating pharmacy school, and I had read all my life, huge reader, and I don't know, I just got the idea for Blackwater, and I just thought, why not just maybe write something down and just like see what it looks like, and 'cause I've always like, I'll read and I'm just like, "Man, I wish that they had done this with this character," or, "I really wish that I was seeing, XYZ in the fantasy landscape." So I was like, I'm just gonna put my money where my mouth is and just, like, see if I could maybe, like, do it myself." And it was slop, it was terrible, but I was like, "Well, what if I try again?" And then I just kept, like, rewriting it, and eventually I ended up with Blackwater, so I just yeah.
Nice. It was a good book. So, I'm
Oh,
glad you wrote it
thanks.
and rewrote it. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So, that sounded mean. I'm sorry.
No.
So Talking about the writing process, because I myself I love to write. Um, so how do you deal with like writer's block?
So, I don't know if I've ever actually had writer's block. Like imposter syndrome was, I think, what made me stop writing for the longest time. And then, sometimes I'll just have like a snarl and I'll just have to like take a pause. Um, I think the way that I would deal with it all would be the same in that you just, even if you need to stop, not stop, even if you need to pause from writing for a little bit to maybe just like think about it, work through it, maybe refill your creative well. I still consider those things part of writing. Like even if you're not typing, even if you're not actively like adding to the story, you're still thinking about it, you're still ruminating on it. So I think that maybe changing your mindset a little bit to not beat yourself up over like, oh, I haven't written anything in a few weeks or whatever. It's really easy to be so hard on yourself while you're writing, and I think maybe changing your mindset to be more of like, well, no, I just needed to take a step back and this was necessary. And then you come back to it and you fix it and it's fine. So
Yeah,
that would be,
I think that's really good advice. I've seen a lot of, being on that side of like the writing community and stuff, and even like the bookish community. So many people just kind of sit there and are like, well, I can't. And if I can't, I won't. Instead of like that mind change, oh my goodness, that mindset change that I think a lot of people need, and not just with this specific like side of the community, but just with anything um like wanting to work and going to college and doing that thing. I think a lot of people can. I think just they have that imposter syndrome and they have that I'm not good enough, and it's just so hard on your biggest critic. And I think that having people to advocate for that mind change of just look, it's okay to take a break. You don't just have to pile on and pile on. I think that is really good advice. And I think that a lot of people should do that.
yeah. And I mean, it took me years to come across that, trust me. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I stopped writing for years because the imposter syndrome was just so crippling. So, like I don't say this lightly like, "Oh, I just like knew this from the get-go." It's
Yeah.
something I learned after much heartache, but, you know.
Let me look. Do you have a favorite scene or a favorite character in what you've written?
Ooh. Um, so Liam was the fir like, Blackwater started with the conception of Liam, and I mean, I think that probably he will always be my favorite just because it all started with him, and he's just so much fun to write, and
Hmm.
he's ugh, I love him. Um, but I also really love Iona a lot, and my favorite scene from Blackwater is just the whole chapter Power, where they have, like, just gotten back from work, and they have that, like, scene in the library where they almost kiss, and then they don't because her shadow does the spooky thing, and I just I, for whatever reason, was really proud of that chapter. Um, so I always return to it. I don't know why. It was really fun to write for me.
Yeah. I personally, I'm really big into characters that have a lot of growth emotionally,
Mhm,
especially when they're like at first stuck in that like PTSD, that grief, and stuff like that. And they learn to grow and they learn to see that, look, I did what I needed to do, and um I changed and I grew in that, and I recognized that it wasn't entirely my fault. You know what I mean? And
mhm.
I absolutely loved Iona for that. I loved where you took the story and the growth that she went through, and realizing and looking back and realizing, and I keep saying the word realizing, but just taking that breath and saying, hey, I did what I had to do. It wasn't my fault, and I can grow from this. and her realizing that, there's that word again, was just absolutely wonderful to read about. That is something that strikes so strongly or resonates so strongly with me in characters. And that was one of the things that really made the book for me.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I never know how she's gonna hit with people because she is
Mhm.
very, like, prickly and unlikable at the beginning, so,
Yeah.
um, that's really good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the same conversation about Guild by Raven Kennedy. The main character is very naive, but a lot of people don't recognize like the trauma and like the mindset of people who are kept in these kinds of situations, you
Mhm,
know? And so people are like, "Oh, well, she's just completely unlikable. She's so naive. She's so this, she's so that." It's like you don't give her room to grow, and she's not
mhm.
going to be a perfect character to start out with. And I think that you pulled that off so well. Um, and I can't wait for book two to see how much farther she grows in that, and I'm so excited.
Ah, it's been really fun to write.
Yeah, and speaking of the sequel,
Mhm.
how is that going?
It's going great.
Awesome.
I'm still in the first draft, but, I'm gonna have to restructure the timeline a little bit, which is okay. But I would say I maybe have a third to a fourth remaining to be written, and then I'll go back and make some changes. But it's certainly not going to take as long for me to write as Blackwater did. I'm This is very tentative, but I would love to release it by the end of not this year, but next. We'll see if
Mhm.
that actually happens. That's just like a goal that I set.
Yeah,
But, yeah, it's going great. It's definitely, in a lot of ways, it's a lot more challenging to write than Blackwater, but, um, what what I'm putting down on paper is, I think, for the most part gonna stay, whereas, like, with Blackwater, I, like, had to do, like, major rewrites, so
yeah. I
Mhm,
I've heard I've heard that the sequel or like the second book in a series is always very difficult to write. Um,
mhm.
I would guess that like I don't know, part of me is like, well, you have the characters and everything and you kind of know them. And so some aspect seems easier to write, but I guess that consistency also seems very difficult. But I haven't written a sequel, so I wouldn't know. But
Yeah. I think, yeah, in some ways it's harder and then in some ways it's easier, you know? I mean, I think every book you ever write is gonna be hard, but, like, I mean, Blackwater was really hard because I had never written a book before, and I was trying to figure out, like, what does my voice sound like? What is my tone? Like, who are these characters? And, like, as I was writing Blackwater, I was also having to lay the foundation for the next 2 books,
mhm,
because the last thing I ever wanna do is back write.
mhm.
So that was hard, trying to write 3 books at once basically, and then
Yeah,
but the thing with the first book is you're not having to deal with the repercussions or consequences yet, and so then your sequel is. So it's yeah, it's just different, you know?
yeah, I understand. Let me see, what else do I have? Writing process. I'm not gonna ask too much about book two because one, I want it to be a surprise, and two, you're on your first draft. So, um, do you have anything to say for like aspiring authors or new writers or even new readers?
Um, well, okay, so for new writers, I mean, for me, and I kind of already touched on this, but, I mean, definitely the most difficult part of it was the imposter syndrome for me. So I would just say, you know, it's gonna happen. I mean, I still am dealing with it now, and I don't know if it ever goes away, but you just have to think, like, ju no matter what you do, no matter what your job is, if you have a story in your mind that you believe in, that has legs, and that interests you, that story deserves to be told, and that's really, like, all the permission and all the reason you need to write it, and it took me a really long time to understand that, like, I felt like I didn't deserve to write it or that, like, I hadn't earned it, even though writing gave me the most joy of anything that I did at any point, um, and that's more than enough reason to do it. You should
Yeah,
do what gives
that's
you
fair.
joy. So, again, it just seems so simple, but I don't know why it was such a difficult concept for me to understand. So that would be my advice for any new writers. Just do it.
Solid advice. I'm trying to think of, I have questions written down, but I don't have a lot of like Blackwater based questions. Because I did read the book, but I do have questions regarding like how you as an author feel about like the publication process, because you did indie publish, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yes, okay. Had that right. About the
Yeah.
publication process and how like the bookish community is making things trendy and stuff like that. Um, how do you feel about like the publication process?
Self-publishing is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to query Blackwater. I would have loved for it to be traditionally published, but, when I started writing it, I had no idea that for debut authors, there were certain, like, word counts within each genre that publishing houses look at and, like, agents look at. So, like, for fantasy, for example, if you've never published a book before, you really don't want your fantasy book to be over some people say 100K words, some people say 120K words. Blackwater was 150. And I had no idea, and, like, I mean, I don't know if I coulda cut it down anymore without the story being negatively affected, so I, like, queried for a hot second even though I, like, knew that it probably wasn't gonna, go anywhere, but I'm so glad I did. It was a great experience, and I would recommend querying to anybody. But, yeah, so that ultimately I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna self-publish then."
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but I have found that people are very, very supportive of indie authors. It's been a very welcoming community. I was, like, very nervous, and I didn't know what to expect because I didn't even have a TikTok before I published Blackwater and made one to, start my authorness, and, I could not have been more pleasantly surprised by how, like, welcoming and sweet and supportive th the the whole book talk landscape has been. I mean, and it's not like but I feel like I had a lot of negative preconceptions about it, and
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, I was very wrong. So
Yeah, I'm not on there enough to see a lot of like the negative side, but I have heard a lot of things. And even with like the publishing industry, especially when it comes to like what's in books and how people, I guess, portray sensitive topics. And a lot of people
mhm,
read for, escapism and things like that. And so it's very hard for publishers and even like indie publishing to kind of fight those battles from what I've seen, because people are so very like they have a stigma against certain things where they think that things should go a certain way based on how they believe. And
mm,
even in like writing and stuff, and it's so hard to portray mental disorders or physical disorders and stuff without people being so gang ho on that's wrong, versus the other side where it's like, wow, this really represents me and I love that. And I sorry. There's just so many nitpicky things, I think, and I imagine that would be really hard for, publishing industries to deal with. And the artists that like do the book covers and stuff, like they can get trashed too for, drawing for a book that like maybe uses AI, which I don't agree with, by the way. But if it uses AI and then the artist like may not know and does something for it, then they get trashed. And there's just a lot of like negative feedback, I think, in this community, where some people can be super like, oh, this is great, and then other people are just like not there to do things positively, if that makes sense.
mhm. Oh,
Like
yeah.
the tagging authors in negative reviews and just trashing authors based on the books they write. It's stuff like that. And I hope you don't
Mhm.
have to deal with that ever in your career, but I just that's the side of book talk that I tend to get a lot. And I guess it's
Yeah.
different from a reader perspective than, a writer perspective, but it's very interesting out there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and I see that too. I mean, I see there's a lot of like groupthink stuff, and there's a lot of like bandwagon where it's like, who, what's the flavor of the week? What author are we going to pile on for like
Hmm.
no good reason? I mean, that's kind of just like part of it, unfortunately. And it does stink, but I feel like what you were saying about representing like mental health conditions and things like that in books, I love to see that as long as it's not in an exploitive kind of way. I do feel like I see that sometimes where like they just wanted to use the issue to give the character trauma, but it wasn't handled with care or intention, and I don't appreciate that. But
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that intention plays a huge role in that, and as long as you do your research and as long as, you know, it's contributing to the character because they're like a living person and not just like a vehicle for like sex scenes along the way or
Yeah.
something. I think that makes a huge difference. But I agree with what you said though.
So I do have another question.
Mhm.
How is there anything that you are like afraid of writing? Like any type of subjects or certain scenes or anything that you just try and stay away from?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't know that I would be willing to take on, because of that same reason. I think that um, there's a lot of different kinds of traumas, and there's a lot of really heavy topics that if I were to write about them, I would want to do it justice, and I would want it to be well researched. I would want it to be handled with care. And I mean, there are certain things that I either just eh, eh, don't know if I'm equipped to portray in the way that it would need to be done, or I just think someone else would do it better.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of things that I don't know if I would be the best person for the job for, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I do understand. I have that with my own writing. Um, I enjoy writing about not just like shock value things, but like real things that happen to people, whether it's like queer um, discrimination or different abuse power dynamics and stuff like that. I enjoy going into that because it teaches people. A lot of my expression comes from reading. And I feel that other people have that same route, and I would love to be able to write well about certain subjects like assault or things like that, but I feel that I would get too deep into it, or I would, I guess it's like putting myself too much into the story. You know what I mean? Like just inserting myself in what I've been through and what I've seen, rather than taking a story for what it is and writing it because that's what I want to write, rather than self-inserting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I would argue that good writing is a little bit of both. I
Hmm.
mean, I think that especially for something like a little bit heavier that you maybe have experienced or that means a lot to you, you are gonna be putting some of yourself in that, and I think that that's important. I think that if a little bit of yourself is not going into it, then readers are going to smell that inauthenticity. So I don't think necessarily that that's a bad thing, actually.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
What is your favorite part about being an author?
Getting to write the things that excite me the most. Like, part of me is like, why did I wait so long to do this? Because I feel like I mean, for the longest time, you read stuff and you're like, oh, dang, like I wish this character had been a little bit more like this. Man, I wish that they'd done, this instead. And it's just really fun to be able to be like, I'll just write it.
Yeah.
I really like this, so I'm gonna make it happen. And it feels really powerful, and I love it so much. It's
Yeah,
the
I
best.
understand. I was a fanfic writer for a long time. I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, absolutely. It's like you want to see it? Great, make it
Yeah,
happen.
I'll do it
You know?
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Do you
Hmm.
enjoy do you enjoy your interactions with the bookish community online and in person?
Yes, yes, endlessly, endlessly.
Yeah.
Like uh, I will never get tired of it, and
Yeah.
I really mean that. Like, I did a book club yesterday where they had read Blackwater, and I went and just did a little chat, and uh, it's just wild because you think about all the work and blood, sweat, and tears you put into your book. I mean, Blackwater took me 6 years to write, uh, and just one single person just saying like, "Hey, this scene meant a lot to me. Like, hey,
Hmm.
this sentence I really love and it really resonated me. It's like worth it. I'd do it over 10 times. Worth it.
Yeah.
It it's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. I love interacting with people online positively mostly. That's why I
Yeah.
started my stuff up. I'm so honored to be here with you and doing this interview. I think I've just been talking about this for like all the days I've been talking about this. I was so
Oh,
excited. You texted me back and I was like shaking and crying to my best friend on the phone, like, oh my
stop. Oh my
God. Yeah, I was
gosh.
so excited.
I'm just a bag of meat that wrote a book. Like and one day it's gonna be you and you're gonna know. Like,
Hopefully. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I firmly believe that if you have a story to tell, you will make it happen. So, yes.
I think that sums up everything that I have written down. I'm sorry this wasn't longer. This is like my first time.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, just like you personally, did you have like for your own writing journey, are you where are you at?
I'm on a first draft. I really liked the concept of City of Bones by Cassandra Clare.
Mhm.
And I didn't like the execution of it. So I kind of was like, what
Okay.
if it was more questy? And what if it was a little bit more traumatizing? And I kind of I'm writing like a sapphic demon hunter questy story where there's like a
Awesome.
parallel dimension and you just some people can cross over and they're like descendants of the Nephilim. And it's like this
Mm,
whole fantasy world and I'm getting into like what if there was magic and there wasn't a lot of technological advances, but there was all these other sort of things versus what we have. And it also gets into like what is good versus evil and how it's
mm,
not like both, or you are both. You can't be just one thing. And there's a lot of people who think that if we just get rid of the bad in the world, things are going to be amazing and great. It's like these people still contribute a lot to society, unfortunately, but they do. And
mhm,
we learn and grow based on our experience, our negative experience, just as much as our positive experience. And having to sit with that, it's uncomfortable, but it's something that we need to learn to do. And I think that if we get rid of, you know, all the bad in the world, we would just create things. And it just talks about how it's different from person to person and how people deal with trauma. And, my main character, she lost her parents, she's living with her grandparents. And, her sapphic partner is very discriminated against because they're queer by their parents, and it's just stuff like that. And sorry, I got way too into that.
no, you
um,
didn't. I think that sounds really interesting.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah. This is very is it do you know, is it gonna be a series?
I'm hoping for a duology.
A
I want to
duology?
twist.
Nice.
I want to twist things around because we can be very naive and love people, and once those people are like, "Hey, no, change up," and how effective that can be on our brain, and just how you know the break in our brain kind of works, if that makes sense. I'm very into
Mhm,
psychology, and I think that writing
mhm,
about, different power dynamics and abuse cycles and stuff, and how you don't want to continue that cycle, but sometimes things happen and you tend to and unintentionally continue that cycle, and how to
mhm.
genuinely break it, you know? Uh, yeah.
Yeah. That's no, this sounds really great.
Thank you.
Really, really great. These are some very interesting concepts. Yeah, write this book. This sounds awesome.
I'll send
I
you one.
can't wait to read it. Oh my gosh. I thank you so much. Yeah, this sounds great. And you said you're drafting it right now?
Mhm.
Okay,
I'm a couple chapters
very
in,
nice.
like about 10 chapters
Very
in.
nice.
Yeah.
Mm, it's a journey. Are you wanting to traditionally publish?
Um, I mean, I would love to because I can't advertise for myself, but
Mm.
I'm okay with traditionally publishing, especially because sorry, I'm not okay, my Zoom. Um what was I saying? Crap.
Oh, I had
I'd love
yeah.
to traditionally publish, but I can indie publish, and that's not gonna like offend me or anything, and I'll figure out what I'm gonna do closer to time. I'm very
Yeah.
skeptical about things because I'm not quite 18 yet, but I'm getting there, a few months down the road. So I can't really do anything with work right now anyways. So signing contracts and stuff, trying to publish things, it's wouldn't be a great idea right now. Anyways.
Well, I mean, that's what you have an agent for, you know. They
Yeah.
would handle all that. I mean, Sarah J. Maas published Throne of Glass when she was 16, so you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wish you best of luck. I really do think this book sounds awesome, and I can't wait to see it one day.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and it was so
Oh
nice
my
meeting you.
gosh. Yeah, for sure. So great to meet you too. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye.
Bye. That was amazing. How do I stop the recording? Stop recording. There we go.